Okay, so this is uh, Dead Guys Part One. We're going to talk about uh, five guys that helped shape the way the atom looks today. Uh, and the first guy we're going to talk about is Democritus. Okay, Democritus lived way back. Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, all those kind of guys. I know they spanned several hundred years, but it's that same kind of time period. Okay, he was really one of the first ones to kind of think about matter, and he said that matter is composed of atoms. Okay, matter is composed of atoms. He also said that atoms are indivisible, okay, and indestructible. Okay, um, you know, so way back then, he was pretty close to being accurate, considering he didn't have, all the technology we have today to prove or disprove that. He also said that atoms are different sizes and shapes. Okay, which was right about the sizes, but the shapes are not necessarily true. Um, he kind of thought that a tree was made up of a bunch of very small tree-shaped atoms. Okay. And then the size, the shape, and the movement determined its properties. Okay. So for being so long ago, he was pretty, he was definitely headed in the right direction. Okay. And unfortunately for the scientific community, Aristotle came along and kind of made everybody think that Democritus was kind of a fool. Um, his stance was that matter cannot be broken down into atoms. Um, so he was basically the complete opposite of Democritus. He believed that there were only four elements. Okay, fire, earth, water, and air. Okay? Because everything they knew at the time was made of one of those four things. Okay, so fire, earth, water, and air, the four elements that Aristotle believed in. And he also felt that regardless of the size, anything can be cut down into something smaller. That anything can be broken down. All right. And because of this, his overall stance was that he rejected the notion of atoms. Okay. So you may ask, how did he completely disprove, or not disprove, but how did he make everybody think that he was right as opposed to Democritus? He asked one simple question. Okay. If everything is made of atoms, how does it stay together? Okay. So if everything's made up of these tiny, tiny little balls or these tiny little atoms, how does it all stick together? We have a pile of rocks here and we put the pile of rocks here and it just kind of falls apart. We can't make it into the shape of a tree. We can't make it into the shape of a person, without it falling apart. So if everything is made up of these tiny particles, how does it stay together? And because nobody could really answer that, because nobody had an answer for that, they pretty much dismissed Democritus and went with Aristotle's theory, which in hindsight was, wrong. Okay. Fast forward, we're going to talk about a guy named Lavoisier. Okay. Lavoisier named the element oxygen. Okay. His main contribution to chemistry, main contribution to the atom, was law of conservation of mass. Okay, if you remember from, I don't know, several videos ago, law of conservation of anything basically says the same thing. Okay, that mass is neither created nor destroyed. Okay, so mass is neither created nor destroyed. In normal circumstances, atoms and matter move around to create a new compound. Okay, so atoms move around to create a new compound. We're not making something new. We're not destroying something and then making something new. We're basically rearranging the atoms to create a new compound. Okay. Basically, if we have the mass of X, okay, plus the mass of Y, that's going to equal the mass of XY. Okay, two totally different things coming together to create something new. All right, and the masses on the left and on the right should be the same. Okay, let's move a little bit forward in history. Benjamin Franklin. Okay, Benjamin Franklin didn't do a whole lot. He certainly did not discover electricity, but he did discover that electricity is it can be both positive and negative. So both positive and negative. He said that opposite charges attract, while similar charges repel. And that's pretty much all he did as far as the atom is concerned. Last guy we're going to talk about is Joseph Proust. Okay. Joseph Proust. He found that the sugar in grapes is glucose. Okay. But as far as the atom is concerned, he came up with the law of constant composition. The law of constant composition says that a sample of matter cannot change its composition without changing its identity. Okay? Sample of matter cannot change composition without changing its identity. Okay? Meaning that let's just say he found glucose. So glucose is C6H12O6. Okay, glucose is always C6H12O6. You can't make it something else without not making it glucose. Okay, so if this changes at all, okay, if this changes at all, it changes what it changes. It's no longer glucose. Okay, so any changes makes it no longer glucose. So whether you change how many carbons are in it or how many hydrogens or how many oxygens, any change whatsoever is going to make it no longer glucose. It'll be something else entirely. Okay, that is part one of our dead guys lecture.